Well, my friends, I'm Rick, and this is your seat at the table, and we are looking at the Battletext Field Manual for the Free Worlds League. This was circa 1997 when this came out, and I don't remember if this is the second in the series or whatever, but we've seen the Klan's invasion, the Battle took Yad. Things have radically changed all across the Inner Sphere because of the arrival of the clans, and this is almost a golden age for the Free Worlds League. For hundreds of years, they were playing second fiddle to this House Steiner for the economy, and their internal struggle and strife has always been problematic for many. A number of events that take place that play out during and after the Klan invasion and beginning of the FedCom Civil War sees some significant improvements in the fortunes of the Free Worlds League, starting with the bastion of military production. So, because the location of the Klan invasion, that means the Free Worlds League are not on the front line, and for the first time in their history, they are not beset by enemies. The two largest enemies, the FedCom and the would-be, their erstwhile, less than erstwhile allies, the Koreans, have got their hands full of buckets worth of clans to deal with. This puts them in a position where their industrial might can be turned to profit, and they gain through a number of access to treaty material and advanced technology material on a case-by-case basis, and that allows them to produce refit kits, if you will. That's basically a kit box full of advanced technology that existing older mechs can be retrofitted with to give them a little better fighting chance against the Klan's superior technology. The fact that their military is not on the front lines means that they are not engaged in combat. They are not being ground down, worn out, and abused. It also means that they have access to a richer, deeper set of pockets. Another major significant change takes place in that through a number of incidents, after Janos dies in a second assassination attempt that's successful, several of his children die in the process too, and one of them manages to supplement and become the would-be, or they're trying to become the would-be general. Oh, geez, I want to call him Inspector General, but that's not what the frickin' hell his name is. He wants to become the head of the damn Free Worlds League. So, instead, one of Janos' younger sons, Thomas, who had been pursuing a career with Comstar, is suddenly produced and put forward as the rightful heir and assumes control. Now, what we don't know at the time, we do know now that this is actually not the real Thomas, that this is a doppelganger that was put into place and position by Comstar with the hopes of controlling the Free Worlds League, or gaining much greater depth of control and of it. And this definitely holds true to the Word of Blake faction of Comstar. And one of the early things that this fake Thomas does is alter the changes of how the league's, this is called Resolution 288, how the league handles its military disbursement. So the Captain General, for most of the history of the World League, had mixed results in being able to tap the provincial military forces. A large portion of the Free World League military is actually based on the provincial units, based to the individual member states of the Free World League, and they're either loaned to the Captain General on a case-by-case basis, or only a portion of their forces are available for general use of protecting the realm. This meant that the Captain Generals through history have often been handicapped and hamstrung by their own damn governmental system. The inability to move military resources as needed, where they need them, and when they need them, without a bunch of backroom deals and bullshit to get it done. And so this new resolution changes all that. Basically, it nationalizes all the military units of all the minor states. And this now gives the Free Worlds League a better unified military, which would make them a much potent force. And we see some of that when they launch during the FedCom Civil War. They launch a bid in tandem with the Confederation to retake as many of the worlds that they had lost during the Fourth Succession War as they could achieve. And they actually are quite successful with it. Now, grant you that there were other situations or circumstances playing a part in that role. The fact that the FedCom Civil War was in full swing, and that Katrina, quote Steiner Davion, decided this is Kathleen, she decided that she wasn't going to intervene, and it was to her advantages to see that corridor, that Terran corridor, closed. So it physically breaks the Federated Suns off and the Iron Alliance apart, and so they didn't really contest it as much as they could have or should have. So the Free Worlds League regains lost territory. In part, Thomas is able to manipulate or take advantage of a moral high ground situation when it turns out that Victor Steiner Davion had approved a doppelganger of Thomas's sick son. Thomas's son had been spending the better part of the last 6 years on New Avalon at the NASA's being treated for leukemia, eventually passed away. So in order to make sure that they continue to get the cooperation and, more importantly, those military refits and equipment to fight the clans, Victor Davion decides to take a gamble, and it ends up backfiring in his face. And he didn't take the moral high ground. So the Captain General does, and Thomas takes advantage of that, and nobody says boo. So we have this rising economy, increased technological base, increased capacity for manufacturing equipment, and a ready demand for most of their neighbor houses to need their goodwill enough to stymie or outright cease any kind of adventurism going on inside the Free Worlds League. One of the reasons that Thomas Marik's tenure as Captain General was so fractious and so full of problems was because he was dealing with Maximum Liao's schemes and plots to help cause problems and dissensions within the Free Worlds League. But in addition to that, Hans Davion's spy network was also doing their share of that same stuff. The idea being is keeping the Free Worlds League so divided amongst themselves that they were impotent to do anything on the grander scale. And that makes a difference in a change. And it changes the outlook for the Free Worlds League for many years until the final, I guess, the dissolution during the Dark Age. I have not got to the source book or the novels that deal with that era, so I'm still vague as to how the current era, where the Free Worlds League is basically a bunch of component of its previous self, trying to reconstitute themselves, among other things. From where we got from here to there, I'm still out to lunch. I haven't had a chance to get in there and figure it out. So we talk about the Clan War and its aftermath, Operation Guerrero, opposing forces. Then we get into a more in-depth of the military, because this is basically what the field manual was. It's more of a highlight of the military and its capabilities. So we see an updated version of the table of organization and the equipment that the Free Worlds League can field: aerospace, naval assets, warships, armor assets, infantry assets. Excuse me. Dry throat. I worked last night until it was almost 2 o'clock in the morning. Came home, got up a little after 8 o'clock, so a little short on sleep right now. I'm gonna take a nap here this afternoon, I think. Let's see, uniforms and stuff. Ranking and explaining the ranks and how they're set up. Senior officers, mech warriors. See, one of the biggest things that's always through the history of the Free World League, and I know I've said it before, the Free World League military is actually very, very good, but there are quite a few really top-notch units, and their tactics are solid, their logistics are pretty damn good, their ability to get delivered on time and where they need to go is good. The biggest handicap that they've faced, well, their command and control, their leadership is fairly competent. The biggest problem they faced was the internal conflicts between members of the Free World League and other members of the Free World League and the Captain General. So in a lot of cases, the Free World League was simply unable to muster enough military resources in one location to go on the offensive, which is not necessarily always a bad thing, but sometimes it is. This also forced the Free World League to depend a lot more on mercenaries than they would like. Although the fake Thomas, my understanding is he more or less put a kibosh on most mercenary units because he didn't like them, and so we see an exodus of merc units during his era, but an increase in military assets for the Free World League on the home front, and you know, it just the way this stuff kind of played out. It's interesting, and it just goes to show you. It's like House Steiner. House Steiner was at the top of the heap for quite a long time, and now they're damn near broken, one step away from completely dissolving themselves. And I expect there'll be a renaissance there too, and they will rectify that problem. It's hard to say. So we talk about the training programs, academies for the military, training college, officer college, and troop distinctions, Free World Legionnaires, and then we get into the individual units, which is a lot of what this book is mostly about. And I always like these. I always like reading up to what's what, who's what. And even though the odds are that 90% of the military units that's available to us we'll never actually see on a battle map on the field, it's nice to know that there's depth and bulk to these factions and exactly what and where. So some of this is just rehash from the earlier House manual, and exactly some additional additions to it, but some of it's a rehash. Yeah, so that's basically how we roll down into this. Brings us up to the current 3065, 3067 age for the Free World League and where their situation is, and the situation of the military. It's a great source book. Is it something you absolutely must have? I don't know, probably not. I bought it because I was buying everything that came out that was Battletech at the time, and sometimes some things are better than others. I enjoyed it. I've obviously used it and read it numerous times. Like I said, I don't own a book that I don't read. It's very few books that I actually own that I don't go back and read more than once or twice. But there you have it. The field manual, circa 1997, for the Free World League. You know how this goes.
Going on, my friends, this is Rick, and hey, if you like the channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, tell your buddies, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, tell anybody else that's in